Welcome to the Effortless English Show with the world's #1 English teacher, AJ Hogue, where AJ's more than 40 million students worldwide finally learn English once and for all, without the boring textbooks, classrooms, and grammar drills. Here's AJ with a quick piece to help you learn to speak fluent English effortlessly.
I'm AJ Hogue, the author of Effortless English. Learn to speak English like a native. You must commit to my VIP program at effortlessenglishclub.com. You commit, you speak English fluently, you speak English powerfully, you speak English confidently. You speak English effortlessly when you commit to my VIP program at effortlessenglishclub.com. effortlessenglishclub.com. We'll talk about money and wealth today. True wealth and money. They're not the same. Not the same. I think a lot of people actually confuse these two things. And it's good to have a clear understanding of them because it will help you have more freedom in your life, more financial freedom especially, and less stress about money and wealth. Hi, everybody. Welcome. All right, first let's talk about money. What is money? Money or currency is it's just a symbol, essentially. Money is a symbol. Okay? It's like a word or a letter. Right? That's how I think about it. Money is a symbol, right? So, okay, let me pull out some money here. All right, here's some money. 1 man, 10,000 yen. Okay? So that's money, right? So what is this exactly? Right? I mean, really, it's just a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper with some numbers on it and a guy's face and some other little designs. That's all it really is, right? If you were in, let's say you went hiking in the mountains, deep in the mountains, and you got lost, and you were up there, and, nobody could find you, nobody rescue you. Would this be worth anything? No, not really. I mean, the only value of this in that situation until you got rescued. But if you weren't rescued, the only value this would be maybe to help you start a fire, right? You might be able to start a fire with this. I don't know if this is some money's got plastic in it, so I'm not sure about the Japanese money. But anyway, you get the idea, right? So it's only a symbol, right? It's a symbol, right? We agree, and the government of Japan has passed laws or whatever, rules, that it's just that this, you can trade this, you can use this to buy things, right? That we all agree this is has a certain value, that it can be traded for a certain amount of real things, maybe services or maybe products, right? That's it. Right? So it's just like a game. Like if you think about it, if you ever played the game Monopoly, it's the same idea. In Monopoly, you have paper money in Monopoly, right? It's all different colors. And I think it's supposed to be dollars, I don't know. It doesn't matter what they call it, but it's just Monopoly money. And in the game, in the rules of the game, right? You're playing the game. Within that game, you agree that you use those pieces of paper, the numbers, to buy different things in the game, to trade for hotels and houses and different things. Same idea. But outside of that game, right, if you're not playing Monopoly, then those pieces of paper are basically worth nothing, right? They have no value at all. And so that's all this is. It's the same thing, right? That within our game, our society game, right? Then we agree, we use it with banks and all of these things that, okay, I can take this and I can use it to buy coffee or something. I can trade it, right? So it's just a symbol of value, but it's not actually the thing itself. There's no value. And nowadays, of course, a lot of your currency rather, not your wealth, a lot of your money is just numbers on a screen, right? You log into your bank and it shows you have $50,000, let's say, but that's just numbers on a screen, right? You can't eat that. You can't. It's nothing really. It's just numbers on a screen. It's just it's just numbers. It's like points in a game. That's all. It's points in a game. So as long as most people, right? As long as most people in your country or where you live, as long as most people agree to the same rules of the game, as long as we all agree, then the game works okay. And indeed, you can use your money to get real things, right? But in some situations, we know from history, in some situations in history, the people stop agreeing to these rules. They decide, no, I don't agree, right? And there can be different situations, sometimes in wars. For example, in the American Civil War, it reached a point near the end of the war where the Southern money, the paper money, basically became worthless. It became worthless. People in the South, they just stopped accepting it. They just decided, this isn't worth anything anymore. We don't agree to these rules anymore. So at that point, the paper money goes back to being basically worth nothing, zero. And then what did people do? Then they had to trade real things. I'll give you this gun if you give me that chicken, right? Trading real things. And there are other situations where the money, the points on the screen or the paper can become totally worthless, right? Because its real value is worthless. It's only these rules. It's everybody agreeing to follow the rules. That's what gives it value. It has no real value itself. So that's what money is. So what is wealth? What I call true wealth, what we're calling true wealth today. True wealth is, these are real things of value, things that are actually valuable by themselves. Doesn't matter, we're not agreeing on rules, it means that it's actually valuable. There's some value, it's something useful to you or to someone, right? And it doesn't matter if anyone else agrees, actually. So a perfect example, this would be some food. Let's say an apple. An apple is a kind of real wealth. It's real, right? You can eat it. If you are very hungry, that has value. It's a real thing. If you're in the mountains, again, the same situation. You're lost in the mountains. No one can find you. You can't get out. Well, an apple's valuable, right? An apple is real wealth because it can feed you, right? Your clothes. If you have, let's say, good warm clothes that are useful for the outdoors, like let's say wool clothes, and it's cold, it's winter. That's very, very excellent wealth. It's real wealth, right? It keeps you warm, keeps you alive. If you're lost in the mountains again, right? It's not about rules. Doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Those clothes will protect you and give you great value, right? Help to keep you alive. So the clothes, that clothing is real wealth. The apple, any kind of food is real wealth. You see the idea, right? Then you can go up a level higher to even a higher level of wealth would be an apple tree, right? Land, first of all, land, right? Land that can grow food is absolutely a kind of real wealth, right? Because that land could potentially feed you and feed your entire family for life, possibly, right? So this is why, when you look through history, land was really the foundation of wealth, right? That kings and the noble families, the wealthy families of countries all around the world, their wealth, they had gold and other kinds of money, but the heart of their wealth was land. They owned land. And that's why, because land is real wealth, because you can grow things on land, you can keep animals on land that will feed you, right? That land can feed you, your entire family. If you have a huge amount, it could feed a whole village, it could feed a whole town, it could feed a whole city, possibly, right? So that is real wealth, right? Factories would be real wealth, because factories can make clothing, can make whatever, real objects again, right? So I think you can see the difference. And the reason this is important is that it's, I think nowadays especially, a lot of people confuse these two. And people are so focused on money, right? The numbers, the pieces of paper, but really just numbers on a screen is all it is. And they forget that those numbers on a screen are not actually valuable themselves, right? And I think it's very possible we could have all kinds of different situations where those numbers on the screen would lose their value, right? Where maybe they would go down to zero, become worthless, or maybe just much less valuable. But if you had land, if you have your own land, if you can actually grow your own food, if you have an apple tree, that's a kind of wealth. It produces apples, year after year after year after year that you can eat, that you could trade to other people. That's a kind of, again, real, true wealth. So it's really back to the basics. I would say also, and then finally, the final kind of wealth I would say would be your skills, the ability to do real things, useful things in the real world, right? Like if you know how to build a house, that's a kind of wealth too. That knowledge, that skill is a kind of wealth, because you could certainly trade that to other people, for example, for food, clothing, or useful things. And of course, you could build your own house, fix your own house. So those kind of practical, real world skills are also what I would call true wealth. So what's the point? The point is this, is that I think it's very good in life to, learn about money, learn financial skills, make money, but don't forget that until the money becomes something real, it's just imaginary, right? And so it's a very good idea, I think, especially for just normal people, regular people like you and I, to convert some of that money into real wealth, to buy some land and grow on it, to learn how to do some of these things, and because that's a real kind of security. That's a kind of incredible security if you think about it. I mean, this is one reason I want to move out to the country and buy land and build a house, and because if you have land and you have enough and you have food growing on the land, even if it's just some fruit trees or something, that is incredible wealth. Even if all the banks closed, even if the entire economy crashed around the world, you're still okay. I mean, that's real security. You could have, $1 million, you could have $10 million in the bank, but if the bank crashes, you could lose everything. And then that 10 million becomes worthless, completely worthless. It's not real wealth yet. But if you have land with some fruit trees and some other kinds of food growing on it, for example, well, now you have some real wealth, right? It doesn't matter. It's not money. It's not money, right? You won't see it in your bank account, but it's wealth. It's true, real wealth. And it's just a good idea, I think, that we've forgotten all of this. We've been sort of trained to just focus only on money. Money's useful, right? I mean, we use it to trade things, and it is useful, and it's good to know how to make lots of money and to save all your money and all of those things. But it's also good to convert some of that money to make sure that you also develop some real wealth. I would say, maybe the current situation now with the world economy being shut down, mostly, it's a really good example of this. If you had a little bit of land and you can grow some of your own food, you're in a very good situation. You don't care. It doesn't matter to you, right? You can lose your job. Doesn't matter. You can the banks can completely collapse. It doesn't matter, right? Inflation, deflation, doesn't matter. None of these things matter if you have that. You have a kind of very strong security. And this has been true for throughout history. I think this is one reason the kind of world controllers have tried so hard to destroy family farms, because family farmers are very independent. They're very independent. They're very free. Right? They're much more free. People in the city are not free. You depend on the whole horrible system. But if you have just a little family farm, enough to feed yourself, a little bit of land, and you can feed yourself, you're very, very free and independent. You can homeschool your kids. You can feed yourself. You don't even need a bank account. You could survive. You could survive without the system. You could survive completely without it. Now, most people choose to still make money and do these other things. But the point is, in terms of security, family farmers, and this is, Thomas Jefferson in America talked about how really the family farmers were the independent family farmers were the foundation of the republic. That without the family farmers, without that independence and freedom, that really a republic or a democracy was impossible. And we've seen that as the family farmers have disappeared in cities, there is really no democracy or republic anymore. It's completely corrupted. So anyway, just some thoughts on this idea, and to not get lost too much in the focus on the money part, and to just always remember what real wealth is. I would say also you could count real wealth as relationships, I would count that as real wealth as well. So your family, your wife or husband, your spouse, children, your extended family, friendships, community, because they all and you all help each other, love each other, care for each other. That also is real value, not just numbers. Oh yeah, okay. And Danya also mentions health. I agree. Health is another one, right? It doesn't matter if you have $10 billion, but you're super unhealthy and going to die, then most people would happily trade the money, the numbers on the screen. They would much rather have their health. Exactly right. Good point. Okay, let's see. Yeah, another lesson. Ilana Khan says, another lesson from this pandemic. During the lockdown, lots of people were unemployed except for professionals who create food and other essential products. Well, right, exactly. People who were involved in, real value. That's a good point. You can see that, right? Good point. Bobby John says, you've forgotten it. One real wealth is gold. I hope you agree. I do not agree. Gold is not real wealth. Gold is a kind of money. I think it's, it has a longer history, and it's probably much more stable and reliable than paper money. But again, if you're in the mountains, lost, this is just a good mental test and a little experiment. Imagine you're alone in the mountains, right? Would a piece of gold help you in any way? No. You couldn't use it for anything, right? Gold is only valuable, again, because other people agree that to trade it, it's still money. Now, many people argue it's a better form of money. It's called sound money, or like more strong or more real money. And I think because it has to be mined, you have to do work to get it. People have valued it just for its, beauty or its color or whatever. But the truth is, it's still just money. So I would not count gold as real wealth. Oh no, another hungry baby. See, like my hungry baby, he doesn't want gold, he wants food. And he says, this reminds me of the famous movie of Tom Hanks, Alone on the Island. Yeah, that's another good thought experiment, right? You can imagine like that movie, or just yourself. You know, you're on an island. Your plane crashes on an island. What would be valuable to you, right? Would these pieces of paper with numbers on them, money, would they be of any use to you? Not at all, except maybe to help you start a fire. That's all. Would gold be of any use to you? Nope. Would food be of use to you? Yes. Would seeds be of use to you? Yes. Would, I don't know, coconut trees be useful? Absolutely. Clothing? Yes. Tools? Yes. Right? Other people? Yes. Slavika says, I read that the Prince Charles of England is the largest landowner in Europe. He owns agricultural land and forests. Right. Their old wealth, those royal families. Yeah, Manisha Singh says, money's nothing but a tool. Depends on how you're using it. Yeah, it's a tool. It's just like a game. That's the best way to think of money. It's just like the game Monopoly, right? So our financial system is a game. We all are agreeing to play it with certain rules. And as long as everybody's basically following those rules, it'll work. But when people start breaking the rules, like the banks are, and a lot of others are, breaking the rules more and more and more, then it can get to a point where the money loses value, right? So it only works when everyone follows the rules, just like in the game Monopoly. Only if we all agree to follow the same rules. Yeah, Anise gives another example. Before World War II, I think it was after World War I, actually, in Germany they had inflation. They had to burn money because it was cheaper than wood. Right. One of the great tragedies of Germany after World War I. Igor says, it's important to own something productive that you can help other people with and exchange for other goods, even without needing any money. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a great way to think of real wealth. It's either something you can trade to other people for, or the something that produces something that's even better, actually, right? What would you rather have, an apple or an apple tree? Obviously, an apple tree is better because it continues to produce apples for a very, very long time. Fausto says, I heard you have to, if you own a house or a farm in the U.S., you have to pay a big tax. They have property taxes. I think it's not only America. Probably most countries have property taxes. Right. They try to prevent, in Russia, in your own country, the communists murdered the family farmers, the kulaks, because they were too independent, right? They were too free. And so to have total control, like 1984, like Orwell, the communists murdered them, starved them, and murdered them by millions and millions of them. Pretty horrible. And that's real communism. That's socialism. Well, this is interesting. I have to think about this one. Carlo, what's useful is wealth, but also what's normally considered useless is wealth. For example, if you love playing music and have a piano, that's wealth for that person. Okay, yeah, well, the piano's valuable to the person. Yeah, right. There's a value there, right? A person who loves music would, if they had extra food, they would probably trade it in order to get a piano. I see your point. Juan Alarte, again, reinforcing this idea. True wealth. Where did you go? True wealth is having a good health to be able to work well. Yeah, obviously, health is probably right there near the top, right, of true wealth, because without health, all the other things become much less useful or totally useless. Yeah, Leonardo kind of focusing too in terms of more internal things, health, mental discipline, emotional discipline, skills, knowledge, right? I kind of mentioned these things too. I think they're kind of a kind of wealth because they do make you productive. They make you more valuable to other people. Right, they allow you to overcome problems and difficulties and solve problems and get things that you need, and so all of this is true. Okay. My baby's crying. I know. Sarah says, oops, where'd it go? Sorry, my comments just jumped around. Sarah, 1 second. Here it is. Real wealth is health, happiness, nice family, and wisdom. If you have money, but you don't have one of these, the money is nothing. Right. Igor says, most people don't want to live in a farm and work in fields. Nowadays, it's easier to live in the city. Right, that's how they enslave you. But, you don't have to. There are easy ways to do it. I'm lazy. I'm not going to become a hardworking farmer. I think food forests and permaculture is the way to go for people like me who want to. I'm not going to be working hard to like a real farm. Some people like that. It's fine. It's great, in fact. But for me, it's just about growing some. I don't necessarily need to grow all of our own food. I just want to grow some and have the land and have the, I guess if in an emergency I could do it, but it's not necessary to work. I think it's actually, I think people are going to be moving back out. Not everybody, but I think a lot of people in the cities are sort of changing their minds maybe after all this. What do the cities have to offer really? Restaurants? And he says, I think after the virus, the pandemic, a bunch of banks will collapse and our money will disappear. Well, it's certainly possible. It is possible. Do you recommend cake or open language to improve one's fluency in English? I don't know what those are. Okay, I'm just going to jump to the bottom, see if I can. I need to slow this down a little bit, guys. 1 second. I'm just going to put the little slow mode on. It's going too fast. Okay. Yeah, Igor says money is useful for quick use. To store money is not very useful and stable. Yeah, it has its uses. I'm not saying it's useless. I use money every day, obviously. We all do. So it's not useless. It's just that we have to remember that it has limits. Just remember what it is and what it's not. Some people just forget, I think. They completely forget, and they think that the numbers are the real wealth, and they're not. But of course, as long as the game is going, of course it's useful. Adil says, if you don't have money, nobody will care for you, especially girls. I guess you're joking, but that's not true at all. Really wealthy people have comfortable and independent lives. I guess I would say that independence, not all of them, but yeah, I guess they're all pretty comfortable, maybe too comfortable. Yeah, like and then Vladislav gives me the example. The book Healthy 100 mentioned a billionaire who was too fat. He couldn't go through a normal toilet door. He was rich but miserable, and he ended up dying. Yeah, there you go. So it just shows you the $1 billion wasn't very useful if you're fat and super unhealthy and miserable. That's a good point. Good point. Good example. Osman says, you were telling us, it's true, I was saying this before when we did that. This is a good point. You were telling us to save money for at least 6 months to survive. But some people were thinking that we will never be in such a situation. But now I see you were right. I take your advice to have real wealth seriously. Yeah, that's right. I was saying that, wasn't I? Before all the pandemic stuff, I was giving that exact advice. Have at least 6 months of money saved that you could survive 6 months without a job. And you're right. I do remember some comments of people saying, oh, that's not necessary. Well, looks like I was right. And yeah, and then real wealth is even the next step. And, it's something, it's really a goal of mine. Like right now, I live in this city. Although we have, I guess another level would be so I gave the advice of have 6 months worth of money. I'd also recommend having food stored. Always have food. Like bags of rice and whatever it is you want. It doesn't matter what you do. Canned food, bags of rice, a water filter, things like this, so that you could survive, let's say 3 months or 6 months, even better, without any money at all. Right? You would have enough food and anything else you need to survive. Like if the bank's closed for 6 months, it wouldn't even matter because you have enough real wealth, meaning food and other things stored, that you could survive. That would be the next level. Level 1 is to have enough money in the bank to survive for 6 months. Level 2, have that plus, 6 months of food. Mostly food is the big one, right? And then you're set for almost any emergency. And then I guess level 3 would be to have land and growing at least some of your own food. So I'm at level 2, and I'm looking to go to level 3 next year maybe. Okay. Can money bring happiness? No, I don't think it doesn't bring happiness. It brings certain opportunities. Yeah, Bertolon, I think you're exactly right. Money shows who you are. If someone is mean, he or she will be more mean with money. Yeah, if somebody is kind, they'll be more kind with money. Yeah, it does tend to do that. It just provides the ability to do more, right? So if someone's evil, they can do more evil as they get more money, right? They can use that money, and it doesn't make them good. If someone's very kind-hearted, then right, and very generous, then as they get more money, they will tend to use the money for kind purposes. Good point. What's the difference between honest money and dishonest money? Not sure what you mean by that. Like how you get it? obviously, if you lie and cheat and steal to get money, I would call that dishonest money. And if you, provide something valuable and fair and honest, then I would call that honest money. So I'm not sure what you mean by those phrases. If I guess that's what you mean. Yeah, Leonardo Parigi, exactly. This is a good example. I'm not a big expert on this, but lots of famous people, rich singers, for example, killed themselves for different reasons. Maybe they weren't as happy as we could think. Money does not make you happy. Exactly. This is the perfect example, which we can see constantly in the news. All these celebrities are miserable people. I shouldn't say all. I would say most are miserable people. They're rich, but they're miserable. Getting money doesn't make them any. In fact, it often makes them less happy. Right? Right. Good example. But they're more comfortable. They're unhappy, but they're unhappy in a bigger house, eating more expensive food. Okay, some of you guys the limited beliefs that some of you have are kind of amazing. When you work on your land, you also will lose your health because you have to use chemical fertilizers. Why do you have to use Is someone going to shoot you in the head if you grow organically? That's just crazy talk. I don't know. I don't understand some of these comments sometimes. This is also a ridiculous comment. If you have money, everyone respects you, says Bayan. No, they don't. See, only people who don't have money have these beliefs. I know you don't have money, Bayan. I know you don't. Because only someone who doesn't have money thinks that it gives respect, that it buys respect. It doesn't. Bill Gates has a lot of money. I don't respect him at all. He's an idiot. He's a scumbag. We could all think of plenty of examples, right? Celebrities, people, probably maybe even just in your own life, people have money that are ridiculous and foolish, and you don't respect them at all. So no, it doesn't buy respect. It doesn't buy happiness. It can buy physical. It can buy physical things. It can buy power in some cases. But you have to have a lot of money for that. I mean, that's a lot. But yeah, it doesn't make girls love you. Not necessary in order for someone to love you. None of that stuff. It's not necessary for friends. It's not. Yeah, like Shaw Muddy says, I recently read the book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. It's about the fact that happiness does not come from money and material things, but happiness comes from true wealth like wisdom and tranquility. Right. Exactly. Happiness is internal. Is an internal thing. You're right. Monks are the perfect example of this. In many religions, monks don't have any money or very, very little, and many of them are very, very happy. So it's obviously something else. What's your opinion about the... Are you talking about Halo, the game? I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I don't understand that comment. And it can make you happy temporarily, I think. It can make you kind of excited, like in for just a few days, I guess. But really, that's about it. What do you think? That's interesting. What do you think about the fighting business like Dana White? I don't know. I don't know anything about the UFC business. I guess they're successful, I assume. Did you ever feel alone when you were young because some of your peers found enjoyment in superficial activities? No. Ask Carlos. I don't care what other people do. So I certainly wouldn't be upset if I don't care how other people if other people find enjoyment in other things. I don't care. It doesn't affect me at all. If you grow potatoes, you will have to fight Colorado bugs. Many people say spray a poison onto the potato, says Vladislav. I don't know anything about potatoes, but the general point is there's organic farming, which does not use chemicals, and then there is chemical. It's a choice. Plenty of people grow organic potatoes, so it's your choice. That's the whole point. If you grow your own food, you decide. So if you want to use chemicals, you can, but guess what? Then you're going to be eating the chemicals, and you're going to get them on you it's kind of stupid, in my opinion. Or you can grow organically. Yeah, Akko says, Jim Carrey, a quote from Jim Carrey, everyone should get rich and famous, do everything they ever dreamed of, then they can see it's not the answer. Yeah, he would know. He would know. What makes me not respect Bill Gates? He's an evil dude. You're going to have to research it. We've talked about him a little bit. I don't care about him enough to focus on him. But do some research on him. Do some research on Bill Gates' father and what he's doing. Pretty evil. Yeah, I don't believe this research. Deepak research says that what makes people 50% is genetic, 40% is personal behavior, and 10% is money. Yeah, but the research is bullshit. Yeah, these research studies are bullshit, guys. Don't even go by them. I don't even bother focusing on research studies anymore, because here's some research for you. Over half of research studies cannot be repeated. In other words, if the study is repeated, they get a different result, a completely different result, which means these research studies are not reliable. This is also not only in social science is a joke, but like psychology and sociology, this kind of stuff. It's just a joke. You can't trust any of these things. You can't trust them. The science is totally corrupt. I think a lot of it's from laziness, and I think they're also just cheating and making up numbers. So a lot of it's just cheating that researchers are just making up but I think a lot of it's laziness too. They just don't design good studies, and then the media will then publish results, and they're not really accurately saying what the results are. So you just can't trust that. And even in the hard sciences, even in the so-called hard sciences like medicine, chemistry, even things like this, there's a pretty large crisis of trust and reliability. So I definitely don't trust any social type of research. I don't believe for a minute it's 50% genetic. How did they do that? There's a happy gene. Did they find it? Of course not. So no, I don't believe it. Yeah, that's a good point. Toshif Khan says real money is the time you have. Yeah, that's a very, very, very good point. It's the most limited and precious thing we really have, right? In our life is time. That's a very good point. How much time do you have each day, each month, each year for yourself, and then just in general, how long you stay healthy and alive? So, yeah, that's a really good point. Hello is an English-speaking practice app. I have no idea about it. Sorry. I tried to find some research about Bill Gates' father. I did not find anything about babies. He was head of Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood kills babies. Millions of them. Money can make you greedy too. It can. But there even poor people can be greedy, right? So okay, just trying to catch up on the comments. Sorry, it's a little slow when I'm using YouTube like this. It's a bit slow with the comment, or the comments are too fast, and it's a little hard for me to read them. When I'm not using my own app. Okay. Okay, one, I'd like to with a good point. We all need to know how to spend money wisely so we can save some for the future. We got to know how to spend money. Yes. You know what? Read Your Money or Your Life. We did 2 book clubs about money. We did Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and we did Your Money or Your Life. I think those two actually go together quite well. They kind of give different pieces of being financially independent and understanding money and being smart about money. So if you read those books or watch those book clubs on my YouTube, because they're quite good. Vladislav says, in Russia, the lockdown is becoming less and less strict. Nice. The opposition says it's not time yet. It'll cause more deaths. Pfft. Opposition has its own goals, just like the Democrats in America. Yeah, it's nonsense. Okay. What do you think about my mother-in-law's thought? Says Paulo. Money is not happiness, but it gives us peace of mind. No, I don't think money gives peace of mind. A lot of rich people have very unpeaceful minds. Yeah, right. Like Bertolon says, Tony Robbins says, true wealth is not only about money, it's about achieving your mental goals. Yeah, Tony's probably right about that. Yeah, Niece is recommending as well. The book, Your Money or Your Life, is practical and it's a great book. Yeah, Niece, I agree. It's very practical, simple. It's actually a very simple book. I think we saw it was more repetitive than I remember. Like each chapter just kind of repeated the same ideas, right? But on the other hand, they're good ideas, and they're sometimes we need the repetition to really get the idea clear in our head. If you follow that simple plan they have, you will be much less stressed about money. You'll master money better. You will eventually become financially independent. So it is a good book. I agree. I just recommended it to my friend Kenny, in fact. Just yesterday I was talking to Kenny. That's why I didn't have a show. And we were discussing different things, and I mentioned that book to him. Okay. Yeah, Shalmati says, one of the beautiful pieces of advice I got from Rich Dad, Poor Dad was, don't work to earn money, work to learn. It is good advice, especially when you're young. Hey, Marty, good to see you. I think you're really advanced what people think here in America. Advanced about, I'm not sure what you're talking about. English? Or are you talking about my ideas on money? Sorry, BD, if you could follow up with just a little more detail. Okay, you're asked this same question. I already said, I don't know what cake is. Someone says, is cake more efficient to speak English fluently? Is that a programming language? I'm not sure what that means. Is that? Yeah, Bertolon says like the religious side of this. Real wealth is what you'll have in heaven because that it will be endless. Right, spiritual wealth, you could call it. Your virtue. Your faith. I think a good argument could be made that that is maybe the highest wealth. Because you'll find, I mean, like if you want to look at monks and rishis and these kind of people, who some of them have lived very, 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 very simple lives in terms of things, material things, right? Gautama Buddha, for example. Jesus, for example. All right, they weren't rich. They had very, 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 very little, and not only them, but even just saints and monks and in all different religions, you'll see this, where they have an amazing wisdom and an incredible happiness and goodness, and they have basically nothing at all, almost nothing, right? They're very, very poor if you're looking at just what they own, the things they own, but on the other hand, they have an incredible spiritual wealth. So yes, I think you could quite argue that that is the highest level. And they're clearly more happy than, most billionaires, most millionaires, most celebrities, most rich, famous people, right? So yeah, I agree. I think that's the best example. And what do they all teach? They all teach the same thing. They all teach that you don't need money. You don't need a lot of wealth to have that incredible wisdom and faith and happiness and goodness, right? And Mahatma Gandhi is another example of a more recent example. Do you know a country where money is not mandatory? Asked Richard. Well, I mean, it's used. I don't know. Mandatory is the right word. I imagine if you had enough land, I mean, you're going to probably have to use money to buy the land, right? That's just the system. But then once you had enough land, if you could grow enough food, I don't know if you could completely get out of the system because of taxes, right? That's how they get people. But you could probably 99% go without money at that point. You could, have animals and plants and grow your own food and make your own clothes. It's possible. It would be a lot of work, but you could do it, is what I'm saying. You might not want to. You probably don't have to, but I'm just saying it would be possible. Okay, a few more. Geraldo does not understand, which means your level's too low, Geraldo, for this. So you might just need an easier podcast in English. That's all. So no worries. Good luck. Finally, Cake is an app that shows short conversations from all walks of life. One repeats after the speaker to get graded on pronunciation. Ooh, I don't like the graded part, but I don't know. Don't know anything about it, obviously. So if you like it, use it. Oh, BD says I meant about your topics, and especially homeschooling. Right. Well, I will say this. I'd say to my knowledge, as far as I know, America is probably the most advanced country for homeschooling. This is like I was just talking about this recently this week, how like in America you will find the worst and the best. They like somehow go together. And usually it's the masses, the mainstream, most people, it's the worst, right? The worst health, the worst school systems, or close to the worst. But then you'll find a minority of some percent, I don't know what percent, but some minority who will be the best of the best, where they'll be very independent. And so this is exactly in school, homeschooling, where, yeah, of course, most people send their kids to school. They're brainwashed, mindless. The schools are total garbage. It's horrible. But then, at the same time, America is, I believe, America is the leader in terms of the number of people homeschooling, and in terms of the number of families who have organized and are fighting for homeschooling, and they're very aggressive about it, and where homeschooling is legal everywhere, and I think it's going to grow even more now, so that it's the best of the best in that way. It's really interesting. So, yeah, it's I think there are probably more homeschooling families in America than any other country that I know of. So in that sense, that's great. It's great. And like I said, you find the same thing with health, where the large majority of people are fat and unhealthy and lazy. But then you find a percentage who are the exact opposite, who are, super, super focused on health and their exercise, and a lot of the like alternative health information and health care and health activism. A lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it does come from Americans, right? And I don't know, maybe it's because Americans the system's so terrible that the ones who do fight it become very strong, right? That's maybe my theory about that. That why you see kind of the best and the worst in the United States. But, bless America bless the American families who are homeschooling. Really, really, God bless them, because they have fought those battles and they've led the way, and it's really great for them. They've done a great service for all of us. Like Anise says, yeah, homeschooling students are always ahead of the normal ones. Generally, yes. What do I think about the movie The Count of Monte Cristo? It's been a while since I saw it. In prison, the priest says, "No one takes wisdom from us." Meaning no one takes wisdom from the church, no one takes wisdom from the priests, or no one can take it away from us once we get it. I don't remember the details of the scene, so I'm not sure what the meaning of that is exactly. You should do a live video about how people can travel with a low budget. Yeah, we could do that. That'd be kind of fun, actually. We could do that. I could answer your low-budget travel questions. Yeah, that would be fun, actually. Why not? I think the best way is just to let you ask questions about it. Be happy to do that. That's a fun topic. I like it. How much money do you need to have to be happy? And the answer, more than I have now. Oh, this is a quote from Your Money or Your Life. Right. That's what most people say. That's exactly right. Right? This is the point of the book, is that you have to decide what is enough. Because for most people, that's the answer, and that's why they're never happy. And that's why money doesn't make them happy, because you ask them, how much money do you need to be happy? And it's always more than they have now. If you ask a millionaire, how much money do you need to make you happy? They'll say 2 million or 10 million. If you ask someone who has $10 million, they'll say, oh, well, 20 million, right? Like it's always more and more and more, right? And this is kind of a mental disease. So, right, that's a good point in the book, exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. America's the best. America's the best and the worst. Is how I would say it. I wouldn't say America's the best. Definitely not. I would say that not in everything, but in many things, America has the best and the worst. You will often see these extremes. Now, in some areas, it's just bad. Like I would say in terms of food, there are a lot of countries that have much better food than the United States. In terms of just the nutrition and the health of the food, not even talking about how it's cooked. Like Japanese food is way better than American food, much healthier. And I think it's just the skill of the dishes, it's all better. I think French people would say the same thing about and they'd be right, I think. Italians would probably say that too. Chinese, Thai, etc. I used options trading before to make money. I played with it a little, but it felt like gambling to me, so I stopped doing it. Cool. Igor says, this month I planted 4 blueberry bushes near the house of my parents, like this small work. See, that's a great example. I mean, that's wealth, right? It's small wealth, but that's really great. And see, this is kind of my lazy version that I like. I like things like this because a blueberry bush, you plant it, and once it starts growing, you don't have to do anything to it. It just will make berries every summer, and you just go by and you pick them and you eat them. And there's just a little bit of work one time to plant them, maybe just keep them alive a little bit. But once they're growing and strong, that's it, right? It's with, traditional farming, it's kind of like, it is hard work, right? You plant every year, you got to plant the seeds, and then they grow, and then you harvest them. And the next year you got to do it again and again and again and again. So I quite like this. It's called food forest or permaculture. It's sort of the Taoist approach to agriculture, right? To food growing, the effortless way. So that's what I'll be doing, mostly. Leonardo Parigi says, I went to New York for vacation. I'm Italian. The food sucked. I understand. Yeah. I go back, when I lived in San Francisco, I thought, the food's really good in San Francisco. Now I've been living in Japan for a couple of years. I go back and I'm not impressed. It's not that great. Yeah, the food in America is not great. There are a lot of countries that have much better food. I will say that. India. Hitchhiking and fasting. I've never hitchhiked. I guess you're talking about cheap travel. It says teacher, nothing. But it would be a way to save money. A little dangerous in some countries. Fasting for sure. Every country has better food than America. I won't say every, but a lot of them do. It's a weak point, in my opinion. It's a weak point of America, is the food. And especially now. It's so processed that, this is why everybody's fat. It's just sugar and salt. Those two, really. Tons of sugar, tons of salt. That's what a lot of American food is. Even in restaurants you go to, and they just add huge amounts of sugar and salt. And the best food in America, and a lot of I was just talking to my wife about this. A lot of, when we think about like good restaurants we like, it's in let's say in America, like San Francisco, it's foreign restaurants, right? Oh, this one restaurant, but it's Vietnamese food. It's a Vietnamese restaurant. It's an Italian restaurant. It's a Japanese restaurant. It's not, I think that the old traditional food of America was healthier. It was healthy, decently healthy. It was, but not necessarily very, not as creative. But it's just, it was a new country, so I think that may be part of it. It was simple. like meat, potatoes, vegetables, but at least healthy, right? Like what my grandmother ate. And before my grandmother, that American food was at least healthy. Probably more on the simple side, but healthy at least, and that's good. But now so much of the food is so unhealthy because so much of the farming now is giant factory farms, and it's just, it's not great. Yeah, sadly. Juan says, Indian food is very spicy. I don't like it. Oh, I love Indian food. I love it. Russian food is good. I don't know. I don't think I've ever had Russian food. Yeah. Are there any stores in America with good food? I mean, you can go. There are health food stores, right? So again, this is another example where the health food movement was, America's probably one of the places that really became big and strong and in the beginning. So you can find organic food and things like this. For sure you can. If you cook at home, you can actually eat pretty healthy. So yeah, there's still good food there. There is, yes. There are a lot of foreign restaurants, and many of them are quite good too. And there's kind of cool things like food co-ops. The more you can get in farmers markets, if you can buy directly from small farmers, that's the best. Okay, just a couple more, and I'm going to go let my wife go to bed. Okay, these kind of travel stories now. Leonard Bridges says, it was my first experience in America. I asked for a normal coffee. They gave me a big glass, a glass as big as a bottle full of weird liquid. Funny. I wonder where that was. But P.S., the people were very polite. Yeah, in certain places, they're quite nice. All right, I guess that's it for now. Anyway, good topic. Thanks. Lots of interesting topics, questions rather, and comments. And I'm quite looking forward to the travel idea. We should do it. I'll do a show maybe tomorrow. I'll do a show. We'll do one about just traveling. That'd be fun. Just a lighter topic. And you can ask me questions about my travel experiences and how I did it cheaply, or how I do it cheaply still sometimes. And maybe share some of your tips or ideas, or some of your favorite places you've been, or some of your favorite, destinations, travels, whatever. That would be very fun. Let's do that. Okay. So until then, lots of love to all of you. Thank you so much. Have a great night or day, and I will see you next time. Go to effortlessenglishclub.com.